When I was downsizing, I realized there was one question that could cut through my emotions. I'll reveal that question to you in a bit, as well as how it made all the difference to me, and I'm hoping it helps you out too. I'm not going to give you tips. I'm quite sure that how-tos are not what stands in the way of downsizing, nor am I going to muddle you with decluttering advice. Senior downsizing is not about tidying up or taking random items to a donation center. To my mind, it's a phase of life, and a hard one. I'm also not going to give you the whole emotional complexity of, I might need this someday, or that's my mom's favorite blanket, I'm going to have to keep it. To my mind, those kinds of questions create the problem of downsizing, not the solution. They hang over us like an overly interested boss. I'm sure you felt that way some days as a downsizing senior. What I have instead is a story about a moment when I suddenly realized what the magic words were to get through that process effectively. I'm certain that I can't add to the pile of wisdom you already have. All I can say with any kind of authority is what my experience has been. That's how I come to today. But before I get into it, please subscribe. I have many related stories about downsizing, and I doubt I'll ever get to the end of them. And I always very much appreciate a like. I'm new at this, and I need some encouragement sometimes to keep myself going. As I mentioned in my storage unit video, at one point before I moved into this little house, I had to empty a storage unit. I had had it for maybe 20 years, but I hadn't seen it or the contents for about 10. So I got there, opened the door, and stuff right in front of my nose and all the way up to the ceiling. And it had been tossed in at random. I spent the next few days hauling stuff off the top, winding myself between table legs, lying on top of things and trying to pull things out, and the task seemed never ending. I was pawing through my stuff and making decisions with the standard kind of questions you hear. Will I need this sometime in the future? Can I give this item to a cousin? I'm sure they'll love it. This sofa, perhaps I could sell it and make some money off of it. Does it have any value? Is this an ancestral heirloom that I'm not able to give away, which means I must keep it? And my favorite, would my long dead mother fly into a rage because I sent this on its merry way? Oh, the questions we involve ourselves with. That is the problem with downsizing. And then there was this. The stuff in this box has memories. That means I have to keep it, yes? That's a difficult one. I hung out with those questions for several days. I was tearing my hair out. Those aren't the kinds of questions that have answers. And there I was agonizing over them. And I was getting a whole lot of nowhere dealing with my stuff. Not only that, the more I asked myself those questions, the more I tangled myself up. That's what happens when there are no answers, or you're asking the wrong questions. So what was the question that cut through all of that? This is what it was. Does this item spark joy? And I realized, oh, that kind of question, that's easy to answer. I would know the answer in a flash. Does it spark joy? Does it not spark joy? And I'd feel it right here. Yep, that was an answerable question. And here's what else I figured out about it. It's not a question about stuff. It was a question about who I am and what I wanted to be. The stuff was kind of a sidekick, the add-on to all of that, and I had to keep it that way if I was going to make it through this process and make my world a reflection of myself. And going forward, I'd have space to be me, maybe even in a way I had never been before. That's one of the exciting things I find about being a senior, because it's actually a time when the people around us give us permission to take a different path. There's not so much, oh, you can't do that. there's kind of an expectation around that time of life that you might want a big rethink and try something else. So this question about my stuff and the realization that it had to be my sidekick and what I needed to focus on was me and how I wanted to be, that guided the rest of my journey through the downsizing process. But the key question in all of that, every item, Judith, does this spark joy? If the answer is no, it's gone. Now, I didn't originate this idea. I only took advantage of it. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Marie Kondo's books. She wrote several, but the most pertinent here are The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up and Spark Joy. I'll put the titles in the description for you. No, I'm not going to give you an Amazon link. I don't intend this to be a sales pitch. I only intend to tell you my experience. But those two books really helped me because they introduced me to the question, does this spark joy? Now, her books are about decluttering and tidying up and organizing your drawers, that kind of thing. And I'm not about that here. I used her questions to do my downsizing. Personally, I think decluttering is a whole different shtick. It doesn't have the emotional weight of downsizing, but that question sure helped me. So here's what happened next as I was buried in all that stuff in my storage unit. I started examining every item, looking at it. Does it spark joy? You know what happens next, right? That was taking hours. But I also realized there was not a whole lot that was sparking joy. So I could go box by box. Does this box spark joy? Check in with myself. No. Gone. Does this box spark joy? Check in with myself. No. Gone. So I went from item to box by box. And then it became obvious to me, is there any item, any box in that entire storage area that sparked joy in me? And I thought, no. Maybe an item or two. But was it worth it? Could I even do this safely? Could I do this within the time limits I had? The answer was no for that too. But the interesting thing that came along with that question, maybe this was the best part of it. The question has spark and joy in it. It's about celebrating who you are and picking out things to go with that joy, that liveliness. I really believe that's what most of us want when we're downsizing. We're not looking for things to oppress us for the next few decades as we head forward. I sincerely believe we're looking to enliven us, to bring ourselves out, to make us glad to be seniors. And I love that question. Does it spark joy? I wanted spark and I wanted joy. So that's how I proceeded. And in a moment, it was like blinding flash of the obvious. I practically slammed the door shut on that storage unit, went running to the owner of the storage unit area, asked what it would cost for me just to abandon the whole thing, settle on a price, signed it away. Voila. Done. And I never felt so liberated. That's what happened to me. And that was, for me, the magic question. I'm hoping it can help you out too. And I probably forgot to mention in here that I'm sure those two books, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up and Spark Joy, I bet your library has them. And probably your state's e-library too. That would make them free for you to have access to. And I do think her decluttering advice is helpful, but I hardly follow it. For me, it was about separating myself and who I am from my stuff. My stuff has to serve me, not the other way around. And interestingly, that brings me to what I forgot. The way Marie Kondo does it, she has that question, does it spark joy? And if you say no, in her method, you kind of say, thank you for your service to that item. I got all to the end, and then I thought, oh, I forgot about that part. I'll just do it for the whole thing. Thank you for your service. That was about it. And once I learned that moving forward requires stuff that sparked joy in me, oh, then I got it. I hope this helps you too. Maybe you've been stuck with the traditional questions and tips, and advice people have to give you, and they haven't been working for you. I'm suggesting you think about this one. Does it spark joy in you? Add your thoughts and experiences to the comments. It's so helpful to everyone when you share. But that's enough for me for now. Remember to subscribe and like, and we'll talk soon, all right? See you then.